Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Pleasure Points podcast. I'm your host, James Rohr. You may have heard of me on TikTok as at the tongue guy. I did it. I made the change. It's what's happening right now. Check me out there if you're okay with China having all your information. I mean, they probably have all your information anyway, but I guess this is like you formally granting them permission. But I've got some great videos up there. So you should check it out and see what all the fuss is about. In the meantime, you're here for this episode, and I'm so glad that you're here. We have a lot of fun. Jen's back on the show, and we cover all sorts of things from mindfulness, attachment, non attachment, snowboarding. We cover a lot of ground in this episode. I think you're going to love it. So thank you, as always, for being here, and enjoy the show. Hey, we are here. What's up, Jen?
Hey, Jim.
That's me,
Husband.
babe.
Ooh, I got in trouble for calling you that this weekend.
Gotta beware of the passive-aggressive babe.
It wasn't passive aggressive. I was just trying to get your attention.
I know, but we've heard other people that we know use it very passive aggressively. So now it's like a joke slash trigger slash. It's also weird when your partner calls you something that they hardly ever call you. I mean, it's better than you calling me like an asshole.
I only recall you that in like a public setting when I'm trying to like get your attention. Because I also feel like it's weird to call you like by your name across like the room. Because it doesn't feel very endearing.
My name.
I'm like, hey.
It doesn't conjure up feelings of.
Hey, Jim. It's like, it's not like, hey, babe. It's like a little bit cuter, in my opinion, and softer.
Okay. Cool.
But I know you don't like it, so I'll just say, hey, Jim, husband. And then you respond. It's very formal.
Yeah, that should be like my last name. It's just like husband. Jim, husband.
Jim, husband. All in one breath. Jim, husband.
I was doing this exercise of not using the word my. It's like looking at like the possessiveness of things. We may have probably talked about this on the podcast, but trying not to use the word my. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was also doing it. She'd been doing this stuff a lot longer than I have. And I was like, what do you do when you're like at a party with your husband and you want to reference him? So the easy thing to do would be like, oh, my husband and I. She's like, I just use his name. And it's really challenging to like. I've been finding it to be challenging to make that shift, especially when talking about like you, or like work or business, or like my podcast or this or that. It's amazing how much ownership just like sneaks its way into everything.
So if I was at a party and I was like, oh, he's my babe, would that just be like level 10 anger for you? Because it would just trigger all the ownership and then all of the pet names.
No, I don't get triggered ever. So it wouldn't trigger me. I worked hard to become your babe.
It's true. You kind of did.
But, in the context of this particular teaching.
Yeah, I think it's important. I have not tried as much as you have, but I see the value in it.
Well, because the idea, as I've come to understand it, especially around like some of these topics, is that like the reason you ever find out that you treat the people closest to you like the worst, like you would treat you like people end up treating their partners worse than they would treat a stranger. And I think that breakdown happens when we start to see our partners as extensions of ourselves rather than being individual people. Like you recognize that a stranger is not you because they're a stranger. But when you spend so much time with someone, and especially if you're out like at a party where your partner is like it's easy for your partner to be like a reflection of your household, or like the two of you, that when we start like seeing the partner as like my partner, my wife, my husband, then we start to just sort of like we become this like mass of oneness. And the problem with that is that most people, when they think about themselves, they're not saying very nice things. Most people treat themselves like garbage. At least there's an internal voice that is very, very mean, that oftentimes says things that are way harsher than you would ever say like out loud. And that when we start seeing like my child, my family, my wife as just like these kind of extensions of ourselves, we tend to use that same voice that we would use for ourselves, like with them.
Hmm.
At least that's what I've discovered about me anyway. That my kind of thinking about it, my thinking about it when it comes to like using that possessiveness and what happens, and especially in relationships, like why is it that people tend to treat the people closest to them like garbage?
Like, do you think that happens for a lot of people after they get married when it's the person is all of a sudden like, my family, or the depth of the bond goes deeper?
Yeah, I do. I think part of it also with that is like just sort of a feeling of being trapped.
Mm.
That the sort of enormity of like, is this really forever? Is this my reality? My reality forever? And we lose touch with the generative and the creative acts of like what we can do in a day, in a moment, of like creating a vibe and creating a feeling, creating a mood. And instead it's like it can feel like you're just on this like slow boat to an inevitable hell.
That sounds horrible. Is that how you think about marriage? I don't think that.
No, no. I mean, when I was the first time that I was married, I definitely, part of the stress that became really overwhelming for me was thinking like, is this forever?
Mm.
Because there were so many financial issues,
Mm.
and I was like, I don't want to be living in debt. She would take a credit card limit as and consider that like a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
and so the credit cards were maxed out, and it was just like, I don't want to live like this forever. Like,
Mm.
is this forever? Is she ever going to change? Is
Right.
that ever going to shift? And I never saw any signs. If anything, it was the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
that was going to shift. And so, then I went to this like place of being really uptight and reserved and like just really intense. You know how I get like
Mm-hmm.
when I just get very stiff and general like, and just like, this has to get done and I'm doing this, and everything just becomes really cut and dry because I was terrified.
Mm.
And it took me a while in that process to really realize that, I was terrified. I was
Mm.
so scared of like a future like that was going to be the future, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Like within the context of the marriage, I didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, because she was your wife.
Yeah, I mean, we were just like, we were in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sucked. That was hard. And I realized later that I had been so stiff for so long because I was afraid, but I didn't have that awareness. Even when my back blew out before I moved to New York, I mean, on some level, obviously, that there's like emotions there, but I think it really took me a while to unpack, probably after we even were divorced, to realize that like, oh, the primary emotion that I've been feeling for so long was just like terror.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, terror is like a strong word. It's not like I was like being like abused, but there were so many experiences that were happening that were against my value system. And when that happens enough, I mean, there was definitely like, there was a deep level of fear that was there.
Mm.
And so I threw myself into work, which was awesome for my patients because I was doing great work. I was doing a lot of work, and I was like really able to focus. I became, in some ways, kind of, I don't want to say an escape, but it's where I could really dial in. And some of the best work that I've ever done happened during that time.
Sure.
And one of the best compliments I've ever received was from a client who, after the divorce was final, I started talking about it, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been seeing you like every 2 weeks for like the whole 2 years of this, and I never thought that I didn't know that was happening. Like I never thought, you always seemed like in a great mood." So that was cool.
You hide your feelings well, James Roar.
Oh, I can get that stuff on full lockdown mode for sure.
Well, I think it is important to, I think that a lot of people, especially in health and wellness, this is one of the things that I see very often with people is that in their wellness businesses, this is one of the most classic mistakes I feel like health and wellness practitioners make in their businesses is to, because they feel safe and they're open and they're vulnerable and they, we do tend to feel our feelings in a big way, is to be able, that can spill out into our professional relationships. And that can be really detrimental for your business. So I'm really glad that you
Like
were
what?
able to,
What are you talking about?
like, if, like, in for yoga class, for example, like, maybe I would have gotten in a fight with a partner or something before going to a class. This is obviously before I was with you. And like literally would be in tears. And then it's like, you got to go in there to do the class. And if I was just like crying the whole time and like complaining about my boyfriend, like, do you really think that my client it would have me back? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm there to be able to hold space for them. So it's like,
Right. I see what
being
you're
able
talking
to put your feelings on pause,
Yeah.
not disregard your feelings or brush them under the rug, but to just be able to hold yourself and honor yourself, and then also know that, you know, it's not about you in this moment, and that you are, as a professional, holding space for someone else. And to be able to do that, I think, is a skill set that a lot of wellness professionals lack.
Yeah,
and
but
it
there's
gets
like,
weird.
yeah, and it's got, but there's got to be like honesty about it. Did I ever tell you about that yoga class that I took at Miami? I don't even, is Green Monkey still even open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green
So
Monkey's rocking it.
this was a Green Monkey. This was years ago. And, oh my God, it was probably one of the few times that I've ever like gone to a yoga class where I was just like, I'm going to go to yoga class that you weren't a part of. This is like before you and I were dating or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a holiday. It was like, but it was like I forget which holiday. It was a weird holiday. It was like a Labor Day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go down there and I'm like, is the studio even open? Like, I wasn't sure. I didn't like check to see the holiday schedules, like the regular Monday or whatever. And so I get there and there were like 3 or 4 other people waiting to do the class. And we're just standing outside and we're like, is the teacher going to be there? The door's locked. Like, no one's there. It's like a ghost town. This is before Purdy Avenue became like totally awesome like it is now.
In Miami, you're talking about.
In Miami, yeah. And so we're there. And then the teacher gets there, but she doesn't have a key. So now we're like all standing outside. We're like, okay, the class is supposed to happen, but whatever. And then the front desk person who has the key shows up. And so she opens things up and we all go in, we file in. There was like the outside room and then the yoga room. And so we, you know, whatever. All of us go into the yoga room except for the yoga teacher. She stays out there and just absolutely lays into the receptionist, the front desk person. Like we're sitting in like on our mats, you know, doing like our little stretches before class, and this receptionist just got like totally reamed. Like, it's so unprofessional that you're so late. Like, you need to be here 30 minutes on time. Like, like all of the things, all the things. And we're all like, everyone in the class is just making eyes at each other. Like, this is so awkward. And then it's just like a Saturday Night Live skit. And then the teacher like ends her tirade and walks into the class, and she comes in and she goes, "Namaste."
That's amazing.
And we just like, I couldn't hold it. I started laughing, and the people around me were like kind of, stifling their laughter. And I was just like, oh my God, this is everything that is so fucked up with all of the spiritual world. It's like, it's okay to be angry, and like, so you flipped your shit, like, been there, like, don't fake it.
I was gonna say,
or apologize, just be like, wow, sorry guys, like, woo, that got the better of me, like, but here we are, and then instead she went on and like started bitching about how she was teaching yoga on a holiday.
My guess is she probably didn't teach there very long.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So like, yeah, like, don't share too much personal stuff, but also like, be you,
Right.
like, be honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a graceful balance. And who knows, maybe in that breath that she took, like, she felt all of her anger, spoke her truth to the woman, and then she was able to just move on. And she was like, all right, now we're doing yoga. Totally fine.
Yeah, maybe, but like, you got to have some awareness that if you're yelling,
Right, other people can hear.
like,
And also, it doesn't sound like she was very kind
no,
in the yelling.
no, there was no kindness. I remember I apologized, or I didn't apologize, but I was like connected with the front desk person afterwards to just be like, it's okay.
You're fine.
You're all right. I see you. That sucked. And
Probably because that girl got in a fight with her boyfriend.
Who
She
knows?
was like crying or couldn't find the keys or something.
Because her
She was
boyfriend,
having her own crisis, and then the yoga teacher is supposed to be all nice, yells at her.
because the boyfriend
Oh
was
my
like, "You're
gosh.
my woman.
Oh my
I
god.
won't be owned by you."
South Beach, all the drama. You never know. Too funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, yoga teachers, it turns out most of us actually do a lot of yoga so that we can support that inner rage. And we actually need yoga or whatever our wellness rituals are so that we're just normal.
Yeah, I remember like the first time that I saw you get like emotional, and I was like, "You're like a yoga teacher. Aren't you supposed to be chill?"
No.
And you were like, "I teach yoga because I need it
Yeah,
because
we are
I'm
not chill.
crazy." Yeah.
Yoga teachers are not chill. Your meditation teacher, your yoga teacher, all of your health and wellness professionals are in that profession. Psychologists, psychiatrists, we're all in the same field because we're all crazy
Yeah.
in our own way, which is not a bad thing, but we do our profession because it really helps us. Even though we're helping other people, we're really helping ourselves first.
Yeah. Oh, I remember now that studio. It has different ownership now. Because I remember around that same time I was talking to the owner of Green, one of the owners of Green Monkey, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Man, like yoga studios." He's like, "Trying to coordinate yoga teachers is like herding cats."
Oh, yeah, totally. One's in Bali. The other one is like got their phone off. They're meditating at the beach. They can't be bothered. The other one is doing like a 3-day silent
I
like
live my
thing.
life on airplane mode.
Totally. Yeah. Can't get a hold of them. The other one just is like, oh, I was at acupuncture and I just forgot to come to class. Oopsie whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when the acupuncture hits right, then anything's possible. I had a patient who couldn't find her car after she got acupuncture. She was just like wandering aimlessly around the parking garage for like 2 hours. And she
amazing.
was like, "I don't care. I felt so good." She's like, "I was just talking to a girlfriend. I was walking around and I couldn't find my car. And security guy would come by and ask, and I'd be like, no, I'll just keep walking. I'll find it somewhere."
Oh my gosh, how funny. I wish I would have been in that good of a mood when I lost my car.
Where'd you lose your car?
Well, I've lost it in multiple places, but I think one time I lost it at the airport,
Seriously? Well, the Miami airport,
the Miami airport.
those parking setups are they're so whack there.
Or if it wasn't the Miami airport, it was the one where Miami has very strange parking garages where, you know what I'm talking about, where like one side is one color and the other side is another color, but it's the same level. It's like the same level number, but it's a different color. And none of the floors are like even. They're all slanting.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you
It's
didn't.
so hard to know, like, even if you know what floor you're on, like, how do
Yeah.
I get to the right, like, quarter level of that floor?
Yeah. And if you don't remember the color or the letter, like, you're done. After that experience where I lost my car, I think I did walk around for like an hour with my suitcase, just up and down the rows, like trying to find my car. Like,
And you're in
pushing
Miami,
the
no
button.
one cares.
No one cares. Pushing the button, like I'm like hoping for like some sort of a beep or something, like some sign. And my car's really tiny. I have a Mini Cooper, so it's like you really can't see it from a distance. Like if there's two SUVs on either side of it,
Yeah.
like it looks like an empty parking spot. You can't really see it. So I really had to do the full walking, and it was really embarrassing. And I was not in a Zen state from acupuncture. There were a lot of curse words and self-judgment going on in my head.
That'll happen. The Chicago parking garage, they name the floor by the sports teams,
So smart.
which
Everyone
is
will
like
remember
easier
that.
than I don't know. I don't remember how Miami does it.
There's no logic to how they do it. That's what I concluded after I lost my car that one time. I started laughing because by the end of it, it was just so funny. I was like, this is hilarious that I just have no idea where the car is. And so from then on, I would always take a picture of my car and then a picture of my car with the sign in the background so that I could retrace my footsteps back to the sign from the angle of which I took the picture of the car. It's like a whole science.
That's some urban Eagle Scout action right there. That's good planning ahead now.
Yeah, I don't know whoever is in charge of the parking structures in Miami, but I would like to talk to them.
Say namaste.
No, I wouldn't like to say namaste. I would just be like, how did you come up with this? Because it's exactly opposite of every other parking garage that I've ever been to. But only in Miami are those parking garages. So it's like clearly something with just Miami. I don't know. It's really weird. If anyone has any info on that, you let us know.
Any urban planners?
Any urban planners out there? If you too have suffered from parking garage fatigue from losing your car.
Does parking your car give you anxiety?
But that's really a good sign of a good wellness, experience.
Yeah.
If you lose your car or your shoes, I've commonly lost or forgot my shoes after yoga class.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
You just walk out of the yoga studio barefoot?
Totally. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my shoes?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or accidentally take someone else's shoes. Have
I
you
can
ever had
see
that happen?
happening. Yeah. Well, because in Miami, it's like
Everyone leaves their
Everyone's
flip
got
flops.
flip flops.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can look similar.
Yeah.
I've had someone take my shoes before.
Then what'd you do? Just took
I
theirs?
took the leftover pair. I was like, we're the same size. Like, I guess this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, but I didn't really like that.
Losing your shoes?
No, taking someone else's shoes. That's gross to me.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah. Maybe I walked barefoot. I don't remember. Just also nasty. But earthing.
Yeah.
Do you guys know about earthing? It's actually just called being a normal human, but now it's a trendy.
Now it's a trend.
Now it's called earthing. So
Yeah.
crunchy.
Yeah. And it's like, well, when you're like, okay, well, what's earthing? Oh, it's walking barefoot outside.
Which
Earthing.
actually a lot of people don't do.
Yeah.
I walk barefoot all the time.
I read this story the other day of a woman who got struck by lightning in her house in her basement.
Whoa.
And she, yeah, so the lightning, she was like getting clothes out of the dryer, and the lightning struck
Her dryer?
like a cable or a pipe or something that was outside that then like was connected somehow to her dryer, and it got her through the dryer. And she said that she could feel like the electricity coursing through her body. She could like retrace the pathway.
Whoa.
And then it shot out her foot, and it left like a mark on the concrete in her basement. And the doctor said that the only way she survived was because she was barefoot, because the current had a place to go. But if she had like been wearing tennis shoes,
it would have kept
it
circulating.
would have like kept circulating, and she would have died.
One more vote for earthing, guys. Just in case you get struck by lightning through your dryer, you won't die.
Is that crazy?
That's the craziest story ever.
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that?
I don't know. It was some news article. Oh, because people died. They got struck by lightning outside of the White House this week.
Oh.
There were like 3 people that died.
I didn't hear
like
that.
Wicked lightning in front of the White House, and some people died. And so it was like they were like, oh, here are these other crazy lightning stories.
So if those people had been earthing outside of the White House,
maybe they would have been all right.
They probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hiking barefoot from now on.
Well, and I pay attention to lightning stories because I used to always want to get struck by lightning as a kid. I used to think that would have been the coolest thing ever.
When you were a kid?
I mean, I still sometimes think about it, but not like I used to. Like when I was younger, I was like, I think it would be so cool to be struck by lightning and to survive, and to be cool with it, to be fine, but like have had that experience. So when I'd be playing golf as like a 14-year-old and there was like lightning, I didn't ever want to go to the shelter. I was like, I'll just keep playing, take my chances, see what happens.
And you wonder why your son is obsessed with electric rain.
Yeah, oh, that's right, he is. He's got that whole thing. And yeah, and then when I was in Peru, when I was in college, I was doing that archaeology field work in Peru, and I was like up at super high elevation. And I was camping in this valley where there was nothing around. There were like 2 like slightly higher peaks or hills, and then I was in this valley. But the valley, I was sleeping at like, I don't know what it was, like 14,000 feet or something crazy high. And then there was all this lightning. They just kept getting these lightning storms. And I remember laying there in my tent and reevaluating and like thinking back, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, like every time that I wish to get struck by lightning, and it'd be like, I don't think I want to get struck by lightning right now. And also, I'm the only metal thing for probably like 4 miles around in every direction, because it was just like, these like stone and, these stone villages and stuff. Like when there was a little village, there wasn't much to it. And there I was really reevaluating my prayer to get struck by lightning. And I was like, this would not be a good place to get struck by lightning.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that right before you almost got to feel that.
Yeah, but like, it's crazy when you like feel the like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the arm.
I
stand
never
up
wished
on
for
the
to get
hair,
electrocuted.
The hair stands up on your arm, and you're just like, oh
like,
my gosh. Yikes.
So for those of you that don't know Jim very well, he has all sorts of these random weird things that he's curious about. Like, for example, every time we go to a high place, like a high bridge, a building with a high railing, you're always looking over the edge. Like, what would it be like to just jump?
I'm not the only one that like wonders what it would be like to jump off of the ledge or the building or the balcony. I can't stop thinking about it. Like I have to like actively do breathing and stuff to like not think about it. But yeah, I think all the time, like, oh, if I were to jump from here, like, would I die? Would I land?
And
Could I
this,
fly? Like, what would that be like? And then, like, just I play out that whole thing. It's not suicidal. Like, I don't want to do it, but I wonder what it would be like. I should probably get like that Oculus, some VR shit, and just scratch that itch. There's got to
totally.
be like a jump off a building
Or just get a squirrel
thing.
suit or bungee jump.
Yeah, well, bungee jumping I've done, which is cool, but the
It's different.
squirrel suit, like, yeah, it's not really the same.
Why not? You just keep your arms in, and then when you're ready to fly, I would do the squirrel suit.
Would you do it really?
I mean,
Be pretty awesome.
I feel like the squirrel suit is really cool.
It kind of has all the things that we like because you got to hike
I
to
feel
the
like my
top.
spirit animal might be a flying squirrel.
Flying squirrel. I can see that. What color squirrel suit would you want? Pink one?
Purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. Feels like intuition, you know?
Did you see that video where the dude in the squirrel suit flew into a plane that was flying through
No.
the door?
I
These
don't
guys
think
are
I saw that.
these guys are bananas. Like,
They're so
squirrel
good.
suit videos are crazy.
Well, they can control their
They also
speed, and
they
they
also
know
are
the
like
thermals.
they also die a lot doing it.
Obviously. I mean, if you're jumping out of anything in a squirrel suit, there has to be some part of your brain. It's a little
Wired
different.
differently.
It's just a little different in the Daredevil.
Yeah, like I wonder what it'd be like to jump off the balcony or whatever, but I don't actually like.
Think you'll do it.
I'm not like climbing up on it and being like, okay.
Well, this, just to circle back, this is exactly why I will simply refer to you as Jim or the husband from now on and completely remove the ownership so that in case you get electrocuted by lightning or simply jump off a building just to feel what it feels like, I can just be like, oh, yeah, that was Jim.
Had nothing to do
That was
with
Jim's
you.
experience. It has nothing to do with me. I have no ownership over him and his choices.
listen,
I am
I'm not gonna-
dissociated.
I'm not going to jump off a building
Oh my
that's not anywhere. If that happens and it was a setup, like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, you're just curious of what it would feel like. Not the actual dying part.
Dude, I guarantee
But
I'm
the-
not like alone in thinking and having this thought. Have you seen
No,
the
I'm
building
sure
that they
you're
have in
not alone.
Chicago where they like now they tilt it over? It's like a high rise and you can stand in the window and then
Yeah.
they move it where you like go whatever it is, like 45 degrees
It's
over,
the new
over
Sears
the
Tower.
street.
I
Is that
forget
what
what
it
it's
is?
called. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was asking someone in Chicago the other day while I was down there doing a yoga event.
Yeah.
I was asking him where that is. But the thing is, I think most people are actually more afraid of like what that feeling might feel like that they're not really curious. Like I don't like leaning over the edge because I'm like, oh, it's like you almost feel it before, like you almost feel that feeling of falling, like you know that feeling of like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that.
Have you ever bungee jumped?
No.
Have you gone skydiving?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Skydiving was cool.
Okay.
After I went skydiving, I was like, oh, I could see how people could get into this, which is why I'm open to the squirrel suit idea.
Would you bungee
But
jump?
like a building, like building and bridges, like no, not
Well,
into
see,
that.
that's the thing. The biggest difference I found between bungee jumping and skydiving is that skydiving, you're so high, the ground becomes like an abstract concept. It's like,
right. I'm okay with that.
yeah.
There's
But when you're
space.
bungee jumping, you can see the trees, you can see the ground, like you know how hard that is, like, or if you're over a river or whatever, the water, like you like the realness of it is at the forefront of your mind. There's no escaping it. And the other thing that's really messed up about it is the actual bungee cord is so heavy, and they have you like walk out to that like the little ledge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like there's all of this weight that's pulling you forward. So then you're like trying to lean back. It's crazy. The first time I bungee jumped, I was 14, 15, something like that. I was with Dave. I was with my brother and my dad, and we were at like some fair in Minneapolis. This is like a perfect like divorced parent situation. My dad was like, "I don't care." I was like, "You got to sign the waiver." He's like, "Whatever." And
If you die, you die.
yeah, and so we went bungee jumping, and it was cool. It was off of a crane in over a lake, and that was the first time, and it was awesome. I remember I had the picture of my locker like for all of high school.
Nice.
I had this like super preppy peach polo shirt on
Of course you did.
because we were coming from some like of my dad's corporate event or whatever, and then and then we jumped. And the second time I did it, It was at the time, I don't know if it still is, it was the highest bungee jump out of a gondola car. And this was in Switzerland.
Oh, that would be cool.
And that was awesome. That was super cool. I was in college then. And I remember as I was waiting for it to be my turn, Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire came on.
It's amazing.
I was like, oh man, like that's quite a like last song, you know? And then, yeah. And I went up and it was awesome. It was much more enjoyable the second time because I was like,
Prepared.
yeah.
And you were older.
I was older. I was in it. And also Switzerland is like ridiculously beautiful.
Maybe you're just like a bungee jumper guy.
I don't think so. I've never done it. Never really wanted
Like off
to do
of
it
buildings
again.
and stuff?
Nah,
Just to feel it?
don't think so.
All right.
No.
That's cool.
Yeah. Glad I did it. And then, that's it.
Yeah, makes sense. Also, I think something's different once your prefrontal cortex actually forms after you turn the age past 21. You don't want to do stupid stuff like that anymore.
I think it's like 24.
Is it 24?
Yeah.
I think for men, it's a little later.
Everything's
women.
later for dudes.
Yeah, obviously. But it's like, the crazy stuff that I used to do in my college years, jumping off of things, snowboarding and being in dangerous situations. It's just like, I don't even think about that stuff anymore. It's not even interesting to me. I'm just like, oh, I'm old now. It's all good.
Remember?
I value my peace more.
Yeah, like when you were snowboarding with ex-boyfriends in Chile over avalanche holes or whatever.
Well, I didn't actually go anywhere near the holes, but some people were not as educated in where to go, and some people who were in charge should have perhaps considered the group before leading people to unsafe areas.
Okay, now that I've snowboarded with you before,
And I was the leader of the group, so
yeah, I can understand that. Jen's version
Get
of
a
like
little-
skiing
little
together
excited.
is like at the top of the lift. She just like takes off and is like, "See you later. I'm going this way.
bye.
Bye."
Meet you at the bottom.
So what happened in this particular expedition?
So I was doing a study abroad in South America in Chile, and it was one of the coolest experiences of my life, hands down. But I went down there because at the time I was going to school in Boulder, CU Boulder, and I wanted to get double winters because I was really into snowboarding at the time. And I was like, South America is great because I can go down there and get double winter.
Yeah,
So
vamos.
yeah, totally. So I had did what I did in college, which is basically rearrange all my schedule for classes so that I can have multiple days off to go snowboarding throughout the week so that I didn't have to interfere with crowds and whatever. But luckily South America is I don't know how it is now, but back when I went in college, it was nothing, no lift lines, nothing compared to the States. It was crazy. People don't even go off the trails. I feel like everything, if you go to Vail on there's good snow, the whole mountain is skied off in 2 hours unless you are the first one in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And there in South America, there are no trees on a majority of the mountain, but people don't actually go
Because you're above the tree line.
because you're above the tree line. But people only go where the groom part is. So I'm looking around. I'm like, do these people am I not supposed to go there, or what's happening? But they would just go where the signs are. So then I would just be ripping through all the fresh powder everywhere. It was this is the coolest thing ever. But on this particular trip, we were in an area, and it was the top of this mountain, but because there's no trees, we could see that the run was going to end up back where you could see how you could get down basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew that it was okay. But what we didn't know was the snow quality, or what kind of obstacles would be in the way. And there was a small warning sign that said peligro avalanchas, which is warning avalanche area and all of that stuff. And I had done a couple avalanche courses, so I kind of knew what to look out for and some things.
And you just kept all that information to yourself?
No, there was another girl who was the other ringleader who was equally as powder crazy as me, and we had a conversation about it, and we decided to go for it because the snow had been great all day, and it was probably 2:30, 2 o'clock. We did our first run down this area, and it was freaking epic. Probably one of the best runs I've ever had in my life. Just totally untouched snow, massive vertical, like it was insane, like out of a snowboarding movie. And then the second time we went, so we were like, that was awesome, let's do it again. So we all go back up and we do it again, but it had gotten a little colder and it was a little bit later. And if you've ever studied snow, just the slightest change in temperature can change the size and shape of the snowflakes. And the size and the shape of the snowflakes changing can literally be the difference of safe snow versus not safe snow. And so just a few degrees cooler, we're all standing at the top of the mountain, and I just hear thunk, and all of the snow had just sunk.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, we got to get out of here. But at that point, we had already committed to going down. So we each went one by one, and we did do it in a more safe way. But the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill my friends. This is like horrible. We didn't have avalanche gear. It was just like, it was bad.
Whoa.
But luckily the snow was pretty stable still, but I'm sure that later that night or the next day, like it would have been really, really unstable. So we just barely got by the skin of our teeth. But I think everyone was kind of freaked out by that. So the interesting thing about Chile is that it's also a lot of thermal grounds, and there's a lot of volcanoes and a lot of volcanic action in the earth. So as you were going down, there was actually like a hot springs nearby and stuff because there's all this thermal area. So as you're going down the run, which is not a run, it was like a backcountry area, there was like little pockets where there were like little hot springs that would melt the snow, and that were like rivers, underground rivers.
Holy cow.
And you had to kind of avoid those, otherwise you would fall in the river, snow, ice situation. So yeah, so
You had to kind of avoid them so you don't fall into the deep underground river.
yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. That would be not good for you. So it was pretty dangerous. So I didn't really, I kind of underestimated the skill set of some of the people that were with us. And yeah, unfortunately, my ex-boyfriend didn't avoid one of those and ended up getting stuck in the side of it.
He was your ex-boyfriend before the trip started.
Oh yeah, we were not breaking up in this moment. He was already an ex, yeah. But he wanted to come to visit me. I was a little naive. I didn't know that he was trying to like come visit me to get back together or something.
Yeah.
I could have used a good older brother talking to at that point in my life, but
So he fell into the thing?
yeah, so he fell in one of these thermal holes.
And you must have been ahead of them because that's kind of how you are.
No, I was actually stayed behind to make sure
Seriously?
everybody got down okay.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah, no, it was that bad.
Where was that sense of responsibility when you and I went snowboarding?
In bounds, there's helicopters come dig you out. Snowmobiles, ski patrol. I was
Saturday,
like,
not my problem, bro.
yeah, totally. And this one, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill my friends. This is horrible. Like,
Oh my God. You
Yeah.
must have been really freaked out.
I was really
if you
freaked
were
out.
in the back.
yeah, I was really freaked out. So he ended up falling in one of these things and was just like clinging onto the side of the snow.
Dude, that's terrifying.
And luckily his snowboard, like he must have just flown off like a jump and then like landed in or something. I don't even know how he got in there. Like these things are big. It's like a swimming pool. Like you don't just like fall into a swimming pool when you're skiing, you
it's
know.
not like the size of like a little hot tub.
It's like, yeah, I mean, but it's like, it's just a big hole. It's like a giant hole in the ground. Like you can see it. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not, I don't know.
Did you say this to him after you pulled him out? It's just like, bro, how did you not see it?
I'm sure I said something like that. And then he was also like listening to his music or something like in his headphones. I'm
Yeah.
like, he wasn't paying attention, you know?
Yeah.
And also I probably shouldn't have invited, like, I shouldn't have taken everybody back there.
Yeah.
And that was like a big wake up call moment. That was the last time I did any crazy skiing stuff because I was just like,
So were you able to get him out by yourself, or did your friends have to come
yeah,
help?
no,
it
I
like
was
a
able to get him
multi-
out.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it. I just like pulled him up. I had to get out of my snowboard and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have been, he wouldn't have necessarily gotten hurt, like even if he was stuck in there.
Okay.
Like
He wouldn't have gotten like swept away.
No, I mean, it's just wet, you know, he would have gotten
Yeah.
wet. But what would be dangerous is if you were going fast and then you like fell in a rock or something, you know what I mean? Or like you hit your head or something like
yeah,
that. But
yeah.
so, but yeah, he fell in that thermal and that got weird. And I was also glad in that moment that he was not my boyfriend.
There you go. Yes, you had already separated yourself.
I had already separated
He
from
was
that.
my ex. Yeah.
But I'm glad I have better judgment, and I've never wished to be in an avalanche or to be struck by lightning or any of those things. I really like my life,
I
just
like
the way
our
it
life
is.
too. Your life is my life. My
No,
life is your life.
my life is
Our life together is amazing.
just the life that I live.
Hey, see how different that feels in the body? It's crazy. Wow.
The thing that I feel the hardest with that would be the cat, because I say my cat like all the time. I love her. I'm
Yeah.
so attached to the cat, but I do think it's a good idea to not attach yourself. It's like the great Buddhist law, right? It's like attachment equals suffering.
Yeah.
It's like non-attachment is non-ownership.
Yeah. And everything sort of in some ways starts and ends with our language.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't
sure.
that like the lesson from the Bible? Like in the beginning there was the word. Like God spoke and then that's what created everything.
Sweet.
Yeah. Power of the words. So yeah, if you're looking for a piece of homework, keep track of all the things you say my to.
Everything is mine. Or should be mine.
My lunch, my food. I saw this meme that said it had a picture of like dairy creamer, and it was like, to whoever has helped themselves to my dairy creamer here in this workspace, you should know that it's my breast milk. But don't worry, it's organic.
How funny.
Mine.
Mine.
All right, guys. Well, thanks, Jen.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Anytime. You're always welcome here.
Namaste, everyone.
All right, guys. Have a great week. See you next time.
Bye.